I didn't think humans could get any weirder, but then they started playing chess with plasma rifles. The Intergalactic Peace Summit was supposed to be a boring affair. For centuries, it had been little more than a formality, a chance for the galaxy's various species to congratulate themselves on another year without annihilating one another. The Xerians, with their 12 tentacles and 3 eyes, often lamented the monotony. The AR reptilians, proud and barely tolerant, barely tolerated the annual charade. But this year was different. This year, humans were invited. Ambassador Threk of the Xerians observed the humans with a mixture of curiosity and disbelief. Their arrival had been a spectacle. Humans, who called themselves a peaceful species, had nonetheless appeared in warships bristling with weapons. The irony wasn't lost on Threk. The human delegation was led by Captain Marcus Steele, a tall man with a calm demeanor that belied the ferocity within. His reputation preceded him, a warrior turned diplomat, known for brokering peace through strength. Threk found himself both wary and intrigued by this new addition to the summit. The summit's opening ceremony was a blend of rituals and speeches, each species presenting their vision of galactic harmony. The humans, however, had a different approach. Captain Steele stood up, his voice cutting through the diplomatic pleasantries like a blade. "We are honored to be here," he began, "but let's be clear. Humans are peaceful, not harmless." The room fell silent. Threk's tentacles twitched in surprise. No one had ever been so blunt at the summit before. Captain Steele continued, "We come in peace, but we are prepared for war. Our history has taught us that true peace is maintained, not by weakness, but by the strength to defend it." The Qatar delegation, known for their martial prowess, exchanged approving glances. The Xerians, more inclined towards diplomacy, were less enthusiastic. The following days were a whirlwind of negotiations and discussions. Threk found himself in frequent conversations with Captain Steele. The human straightforwardness was both refreshing and unsettling. "Why such a militaristic stance?" Threk asked during one of their talks. "You speak of peace, yet your actions suggest otherwise." Steele leaned back, his expression thoughtful. "We've learned that true peace requires vigilance. Our history is filled with conflicts, each one teaching us the cost of complacency. We don't seek war, but we won't shy away from it if our peace is threatened." Threk couldn't help but respect the human's resolve, even if he didn't fully agree with it. The Xerian diplomat had always believed in the power of dialogue over deterrence. Yet there was something compelling about Steele's argument, something that resonated with the primal instinct for survival that all species shared. The summit proceeded with its usual routine, but the presence of humans injected a new energy into the proceedings. Debates were more vigorous, discussions more heated. Steele's influence was undeniable, and even those who disagreed with him found themselves re-evaluating their positions. It wasn't long before the Peace Summit was tested. News arrived that a rogue faction of the Vlaks, a warlike race long thought subdued, had begun attacking outlying colonies. Panic rippled through the delegates. The Vlaks were known for their brutality, and their resurgence threatened to destabilize the fragile peace. Captain Steele's reaction was immediate. "We must act swiftly," he declared. "The Vlaks understand only strength. If we don't stop them now, they'll grow bolder." The room erupted into arguments. Some delegates called for immediate military action, while others urged caution, fearing that a heavy-handed response could escalate the conflict. Threk found himself torn. His diplomatic instincts urged him to seek a peaceful resolution, but he couldn't ignore the urgency in Steele's voice. The human's words carried the weight of someone who had seen too many wars, someone who understood the cost of inaction. In the end, a compromise was reached. A coalition of forces led by the humans would be dispatched to confront the Vlaks. Threk volunteered to join the mission as an observer, wanting to understand firsthand the human approach to conflict. The coalition fleet parted, a diverse array of ships united by a common goal. Threk's Xerian vessel traveled alongside the human warships. Their sleek designs were a stark contrast to the more utilitarian Xerian craft. As they neared the Vlach stronghold, tension filled the air. The human soldiers prepared with a calm efficiency that impressed Threk. Despite their advanced weaponry, there was a discipline and restraint that spoke of a deep respect for the power they wielded. The battle, when it came, was swift and brutal. The Vlachs were unprepared for the coordinated assault. Human tactics, honed through centuries of warfare, proved devastatingly effective. Threk watched in awe as Steel led his forces with precision. His commands were crisp and decisive. Yet, even in the heat of battle, the humans showed a restraint that Threk had not expected. They targeted military installations, avoided civilian areas, and offered terms of surrender whenever possible. Steel's words echoed in Threk's mind, peaceful, not harmless. When the dust settled, the Vlach threat was neutralized. The coalition forces returned to the summit, where Steel's leadership was met with both admiration and unease. The humans had proven their capability, but their methods left many questions unanswered. Threk approached Steel, a new respect in his eyes. "You fought with honor," he said. "But I still wonder, is there no room for peace without the shadow of war?" Steel looked at him, a hint of sadness in his eyes. "We strive for peace, but we prepare for war. It's a balance we've learned to maintain because the cost of unpreparedness is too high." The peace summit continued, but the events had changed it irrevocably. The presence of humans had challenged the status quo, forcing the galaxy's species to confront their own beliefs about peace and conflict. As Threk watched Steel navigate the complexities of diplomacy and war, he realized that the humans had brought something invaluable to the summit, a reminder that peace was not a given, but something that had to be earned and protected. The story of humans in the galaxy was just beginning, and Threk knew that it would be one filled with challenges, triumphs, and a new understanding of what it meant to be both peaceful and powerful. The Vlach skirmish had left its mark on the Intergalactic Peace Summit. Conversations grew more intense, alliances were reevaluated, and the presence of the humans had become a focal point of intrigue and contention. Threk found himself increasingly in dialogue with Captain Steel, trying to understand the humans' perspective and the paradox of their peaceful yet formidable nature. One evening, as the summit delegates were retiring to their quarters, Steel invited Threk to join him for a drink in the human mess hall. Threk accepted, eager for a chance to delve deeper into the human psyche. The mess hall was a bustling place, filled with the scent of unfamiliar spices and the sound of laughter and camaraderie. Threk noticed how the human soldiers, despite their martial prowess, seemed at ease, sharing stories and jokes. Steel handed Threk a glass of golden liquid that smelled both sweet and pungent. "It's called whiskey," Steel explained with a grin. "A human favorite." Threk took a cautious sip, feeling the burn as it went down, and nodded appreciatively. "Strong," he commented. "Much like your people." Steel chuckled. "We have our moments, but strength is not just about power. It's about resilience and the will to protect what matters." Threk leaned forward, intrigued. "You speak of peace, yet your actions suggest that you are always ready for conflict. How do you reconcile the two?" Steele's expression grew serious. "It's a hard lesson we've learned. Our history is filled with conflicts where we were unprepared or too complacent. We strive for peace, but we've learned that we must always be vigilant. It's not about seeking war. It's about ensuring that those who do cannot easily disrupt our peace." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent message. The summit's central hub was in chaos. A delegation from the distant Horic system had just arrived, bringing dire news of a new threat. The Zorth, a technologically advanced and expansionist species, had begun an aggressive campaign of conquest, and their next target was the Horic system. The summit delegates gathered in the Grand Hall, tension palpable, as the Horic ambassador detailed the Zortha's brutal efficiency. Worlds had fallen before them in swift, devastating strikes. The Horic, known for their peaceful and scholarly ways, were ill-prepared to defend themselves. Captain Steele stood up, his presence commanding attention. We cannot allow the Zorth to continue their conquests unchecked. If we do not act now, the entire galaxy could be at risk. Debates erupted. Some argued for immediate intervention, while others feared that engaging the Zorth would only provoke a larger conflict. Threk watched the proceedings with growing concern. The stakes were higher than ever, and the summit's unity was fraying. In a private meeting with Steele, Threk voiced his worries. This could escalate into a galaxy-wide war. Are we truly prepared for such a risk? Steele met his gaze with steely resolve. If we stand by and do nothing, the Zorth will only grow bolder. We must show them that their aggression will not go unanswered. But we must also be smart about our approach. This isn't just about fighting. It's about strategic alliances and precise actions. The next few days were a whirlwind of strategy sessions and diplomatic maneuvers. Steele, with Threk's assistance, worked to form a coalition of willing species to counter the Zorth threat. The Qatar, impressed by the humans' prowess against the Vlaks, pledged their support. Other species, inspired by the humans' courage, followed suit. As preparations for the coalition's mission began, Threk found himself aboard the human flagship, the Resolute. The ship was a marvel of engineering, a testament to human ingenuity and adaptability. Steele gave Threk a tour, showing him the advanced weaponry, the state-of-the-art medical facilities, and the rigorous training programs for the crew. We prepare for the worst so we can hope for the best, Steele explained. Our goal is not just to win battles, but to save lives and protect our way of life. The Coalition fleet set course for the Horrocks system, tension mounting with each passing moment as they approached the outer reaches of the system. They received word that the Zorth fleet was already on the move, advancing rapidly. The battle that ensued was unlike anything Threk had ever experienced. The Zorth ships were sleek and deadly, their tactics ruthless and efficient. But the Coalition, under Steele's leadership, fought with a coordinated fury that turned the tide. Threk watched in awe as human and Qatar forces worked in seamless unison, exploiting the Zorth's weaknesses and outmaneuvering their formations. Steele's commands were precise and relentless, his strategic brilliance shining through even in the chaos of combat. Yet, even amidst the destruction, there was a calculated restraint. Coalition forces focused on disabling the Zorth's weapons and engines, minimizing casualties wherever possible. Steele's approach was clear: win the battle, but leave room for diplomacy. As the Zorth fleet began to retreat, Threk felt a surge of hope. The Coalition had proven that they could stand against the might of the Zorth, but the true test would come in the aftermath. Would the Zorth see reason, or would they double down on their aggression? In the quiet that followed the battle, Steele and Threk stood on the bridge of the Resolute, surveying the aftermath. The human captain's face was a mix of exhaustion and determination. "This is just the beginning," Steele said quietly. "The Zorth will be back, and we need to be ready. But today, we've shown them that the galaxy will not bow to their tyranny." Threk nodded, feeling a newfound respect for the humans and their relentless pursuit of peace through strength. The summit's work was far from over, and the path ahead was fraught with challenges. But with allies like Steele, Threk felt a renewed sense of hope for the future of the galaxy. As the Coalition fleet regrouped and prepared for the next phase of their mission, Threk knew that the journey ahead would be difficult. But he was ready to face it alongside the humans who had taught him that peace was worth fighting for. The Coalition's victory over the Zorth and the Horrocks system was a pivotal moment, but the war was far from over. As the Coalition fleet regrouped, Captain Steele and Threk worked tirelessly to solidify their newfound alliance and plan their next move. They knew that the Zorth, humiliated but not defeated, would soon retaliate with even greater force. In the days following the battle, intelligence reports confirmed their worst fears. The Zorth were amassing a massive fleet to launch a full-scale invasion of the Coalition's territory. The Coalition's leaders convened in a war council aboard the Resolute to devise a strategy. "We can't wait for them to come to us," Steele argued, his voice steady and commanding. "We need to take the fight to them and strike at their heart. If we can reach their command center, we might force them to negotiate." The plan was audacious, a daring assault on the Zortha's central command station deep within their territory. It would require every ounce of courage, skill, and coordination the coalition could muster. But if they succeeded, it could turn the tide of the war. Threk, now a trusted advisor and liaison, played a crucial role in rallying support from the coalition's diverse members. His diplomatic skills complemented Steele's tactical brilliance, and together, they forged a united front. As the fleet prepared for the mission, Threk spent time with the human soldiers, learning about their culture and history. He was struck by their resilience and adaptability. Despite their reputation as warriors, they were also explorers, scientists, and dreamers. Their strength came not just from their weapons, but from their indomitable spirit. The fleet's journey into Zorth space was fraught with danger. They encountered heavy resistance, but Steele's leadership and the coalition's unwavering resolve saw them through. Each battle was a step closer to their ultimate goal. Finally, they reached the Zorth command station. The battle that ensued was the fiercest yet. The Zorth, desperate to defend their stronghold, threw everything they had at the coalition forces. The Resolute and its allies fought valiantly, their determination unyielding. Amidst the chaos, Steele led a strike team to infiltrate the command station and disable its defenses. Threk insisted on joining the mission, despite Steele's reservations. Together, they fought their way through the station's labyrinthine corridors, facing relentless opposition. Threk, unaccustomed to combat, relied on Steele's guidance and the courage he had discovered within himself. In the heat of battle, the two forged a bond of trust and camaraderie that transcended their differences. As they reached the command center, they found themselves face to face with the Zorth Supreme Commander. Steele stepped forward, his weapon lowered, and spoke with a calm authority that belied the intensity of the moment. "This war doesn't have to continue," he said. "We've shown you that we can stand against you. Now, let's find a way to coexist." The Supreme Commander, initially defiant, hesitated as Steele's words resonated. Threk added his voice to the plea, appealing to the Zortha's sense of reason and survival. After a tense standoff, the Supreme Commander agreed to negotiate. It was the beginning of a fragile truce, one that would require constant effort and vigilance to maintain. As the coalition fleet withdrew from Zorth space, Steele and Threk reflected on their journey. They had faced the horrors of war and emerged stronger, united by a shared vision of peace. The galaxy was still a dangerous place, but they had proven that even in the darkest times, hope and courage could prevail. The Intergalactic Peace Summit would never be the same. The arrival of humans had reshaped its purpose and its promise. As Threk returned to his people, he carried with him the lessons he had learned from the humans, the importance of strength tempered by restraint, and the value of standing together in the face of adversity. And Captain Steele, ever vigilant, prepared for the challenges yet to come, knowing that the fight for peace was never truly over.